I was dying on purpose. Day by day, I was choosing death over the life they wanted me to live. I refused the food they brought me. I refused the water. I lay on the concrete floor of my cell in darkness, and I waited for my body to fail me. I waited for my heart to stop. I waited for God to take me home. It had been 7 months in that detention facility in Baghdad. 7 months of interrogation, torture, and degradation. 7 months of being told that no one was coming for me. 7 months of being shown videos of women like me being executed. 7 months of listening to guards tell me that my father, my own father the Imam, had issued a fatwa for my death. 7 months of knowing that my only choice was to recant my faith in Jesus or to die. I refused to recant. So I chose to die. On what I thought was my last night, I lay in my cell and I prayed. I prayed to Jesus. I asked him to forgive me for being weak, for giving up, for choosing death instead of continuing to fight. I told him that I loved him, and I asked him to take me home. That night, Jesus appeared to me in the darkness. He was standing in light. He reached down and he took my hand. He told me that he had not forgotten me. He told me that my suffering was not meaningless. He told me that he had a plan. He told me that he would not let me die in that cell. He told me that my testimony would reach the world. I woke up the next morning with renewed strength. I drank water. I ate the meager food they offered me. I decided that I would live. I decided that I would survive. I decided that I would escape and tell my story. 2 days later, a man came to our detention facility. His name was Dr. James. He was an American Christian doctor working with a United Nations humanitarian organization. He was there to assess the treatment of prisoners, to document abuse, to report violations of human rights. He came to my cell. He looked at me with compassion. He saw my skeletal frame, my dying body, my eyes that had lost hope. And he knew that something had to be done. My name is Noor Malik Ibrahim, and I am from Baghdad, Iraq. I am 31 years old. I am sitting here today to tell you a story about how I was born into privilege, raised in an elite family, and yet still I was persecuted, imprisoned, and tortured for my faith in Jesus. My story shows that no amount of wealth, no amount of family status, no amount of social position can protect you when you choose to follow Jesus in a place where Christianity is forbidden. I grew up as the daughter of an imam. My father, Malik Ibrahim, was not just any imam. He was one of the most prominent and respected religious leaders in Baghdad. He led prayers at one of the largest mosques in the city. He taught Islamic theology and Islamic law. He was consulted by government officials about matters of religion. He was a powerful man. He was respected. He was feared. My mother, Fatima, was a traditional housewife. She was kind, but she was completely obedient to my father. She did not question him. She did not disagree with him. She had learned from her own mother that this was the role of a good wife. I had one younger brother, Hassan, who was 26 years old. He was studying law. He was very conservative, very religious. He wanted to follow in my father's footsteps and become a leader in Islamic society. Growing up as the daughter of an imam meant that I was constantly watched. Everything I did reflected on my father's reputation. Everything I wore, everything I said, everyone I spoke to, it all mattered because I represented my family's honor and my family's faith. I was educated at the best schools. My father believed in education for women, but only as a way to make them better wives and mothers. I learned to read and write beautifully. I learned Arabic literature and poetry. I became fluent in 3 languages. I was bright and intelligent. But I was also completely controlled. I could not leave the house without permission. I could not speak to men. I could not have friends who were not approved by my parents. I could not make any decisions about my own life. Everything was decided for me. My clothes were chosen for me. My schedule was decided for me. My future was decided for me. When I was 28 years old, my father called me into his study. He told me that he had arranged a marriage for me. The man's name was Adnan. He was 4 to 5 years old. He was a wealthy businessman. He came from a powerful family. The marriage was a political and financial alliance between 2 important families. I was not asked if I wanted this marriage. I was not asked what I thought of Adnan. I was told that this marriage had been arranged and that I should be grateful. My father said that Adnan was a good man, that he would provide for me, that the marriage would bring honor to our family. I did not want to marry him. I was terrified. But I had no choice. In my culture, you do not refuse your father. You do not refuse an arranged marriage. You simply accept it and you try to make the best of it. The wedding was arranged quickly. It was a grand celebration attended by hundreds of people. Everyone said it was a perfect match. Everyone congratulated my father on making such a good arrangement. I wore a beautiful white dress and gold jewelry. I smiled for the photographs. And inside, I was dying. Within weeks of the marriage, I learned the truth about Adnan. He was controlling. He was possessive. He viewed me as a possession, not as a wife. He told me what to wear, where to go, what to say. He monitored my phone. He followed me when I left the house. He demanded to know where I was every moment. And he was violent. When I did not obey him, when I questioned him, when he felt I had disrespected him, he would hit me. He would slap me. He would punch me. He would lock me in a room for days. He would humiliate me in front of the servants. He would tell me that I was worthless, that no one would want me, that I should be grateful for his abuse. I was trapped. I was in a golden prison. I had everything materially, a beautiful home, expensive clothes, financial security. But I had no freedom. I had no voice. I had no hope. I told my family what was happening. I told my father. I asked him for help. He said that Adnan was my husband, that I needed to obey him, that a good wife does not complain about her husband. He said that if I left the marriage, it would bring shame on our family. He said that divorce was not an option. I had no way out. Years passed. 3 years of marriage to Adnan. 3 years of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and complete control. I felt myself disappearing. I felt myself dying slowly inside. I had no purpose. I had no meaning. I had no hope. The only thing that kept me alive was my job. I was a high school teacher. I taught Arabic language and literature. I taught my students about poetry and about the beauty of the Arabic language and about storytelling. At school, I had some freedom. I had some voice. I had some control over my own life, even if it was just in my classroom. It was at school that I met Layla. Layla was a student in my class. She was 16 years old. She was intelligent and thoughtful. She asked good questions. She seemed to care about learning and about understanding the world. I grew close to her. I felt protective of her. She seemed like the daughter I might never have. One day, Layla came to school with a black eye. Her face was bruised. Her arm was in a sling. When I asked her what had happened, she would not answer. She just looked down and said that she had fallen. I knew that she was lying. I knew that someone had hit her. That evening, I asked her to stay after class. I closed the door to my classroom. I told her that she could trust me. I told her that if she was in danger, I wanted to help her. Layla started crying. She told me that her father had beaten her. She told me that he had discovered something about her, and when he found out, he was so angry that he beat her for hours. She told me that her father had said that he would beat her again if she ever did the same thing again. I asked her what it was that she had done. What was so bad that her own father would beat her? Layla looked at me with fear and with shame. She whispered, "I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus. My father found out, and he beat me." I was shocked. I did not know what to say. In all my years, I had never met anyone who was a Christian. I had never met anyone who followed Jesus. I had been taught that Christians were enemies of Islam. I had been taught that Christianity was a false religion. I had been taught that Christians were dangerous. But this was Layla. This was a girl I cared about. This was someone I wanted to protect. And she was being beaten by her own father for her faith in Jesus. I asked her why her faith meant so much to her that she would accept her father's violence. I asked her what Jesus had given her that was worth such suffering. Layla told me about Jesus. She told me that Jesus loved her. She told me that Jesus had set her free. She told me that even though her father beat her, even though she faced rejection, even though she was in danger, she could not deny her faith in Jesus because she had experienced his love personally. I was moved by her faith. I was confused by it. But I was also intrigued. A few days later, Layla gave me a Bible. It was hidden inside a textbook about Arabic literature. She told me to read it in secret. She told me not to tell anyone. She said that if I was asking questions about faith, about God, about meaning, then the Bible would help me find answers. I took the Bible home and I hid it. I was terrified of being discovered. But I was also desperate for something, anything that might give my life meaning. At night, when Adnan was asleep, I would read the Bible. I read about Jesus. I read about his teachings. I read about the way he treated women with respect and dignity. I read about the way he valued the marginalized and the broken. I read about his love for people who were trapped and suffering. I read about a woman at a well in Samaria who had been divorced 5 times and was living with a man who was not her husband. I read about how Jesus spoke to her with compassion. He did not judge her. He did not condemn her. He saw her pain. He offered her water that would satisfy her deepest thirst. He offered her living water. When I read that story, I wept. I felt like Jesus was speaking directly to me. I felt like he understood my pain. I felt like he was offering me something I had been searching for my entire life: freedom, dignity, love, and hope. I continued reading the Bible. I read the Gospels. I read about Jesus' death on the cross. I read that he died for my sins. I read that he rose from the dead. I read that through faith in him, I could have eternal life. One night, I had a vision. Jesus appeared to me. He was standing in light. He looked at me with such tenderness, such compassion, such love. He told me that he understood my pain. He told me that he understood my marriage, my abuse, my lack of freedom. He told me that he had come to set captives free. He told me that if I would follow him, I would be free. He told me that he loved me. When I woke up, I knew that I wanted to follow Jesus. I knew that I wanted to give my life to him. I made a secret decision to become a Christian. For 6 months, I lived a double life. During the day, I was a dutiful Muslim wife to Adnan. I was the daughter of an imam. I was a teacher who taught Islamic values. But at night, I read the Bible. I prayed to Jesus. I attended secret prayer meetings with Layla and other believers. I was learning what it meant to follow Jesus. I experienced a peace that I had never known before. I experienced a hope that I had not felt in years. I experienced a sense of purpose and meaning that had been absent from my life. Jesus was real to me. Jesus was with me. But I also knew that I could not keep this secret forever. I knew that if my faith was discovered, the consequences would be severe. I knew that I could be arrested. I knew that I could be executed. But I also knew that I could not deny Jesus. I could not go back to being Muslim. I could not pretend that I did not know the truth. I began to make a plan. I began to think about how I could leave Adnan, how I could escape, how I could get to safety. But I also knew that leaving would bring shame on my family. I knew that my father would reject me. I knew that I would lose everything. I was praying, trying to figure out what to do, when everything was taken out of my hands. Adnan found my Bible. I had hidden it in my closet, in a place I thought was safe. But Adnan was searching my room. He found the Bible. He found Christian literature that Layla had given me. He found prayer notes that I had written to Jesus. His face turned dark with rage. He called me into the bedroom. He held up the Bible. He asked me to explain what this was. He asked me if I had become a Christian. I could have lied. I could have made up an excuse. I could have denied it. But I was tired of lying. I was tired of hiding. I told him the truth. I told him that yes, I was a Christian. I told him that I believed in Jesus. I told him that I would not recant. He beat me. He hit me repeatedly. He told me that I was a traitor. He told me that I was an apostate. He told me that I deserved to die. He locked me in a room. He said that he was going to report me to the religious authorities. That night, while I was locked in the room, Adnan called my father. He told him that his wife had betrayed Islam. He told him that she had become a Christian. He told him that she was an apostate. The next morning, my father came to my home. When he entered the bedroom where I was locked, his face was cold. His eyes were full of rage. He did not embrace me. He did not ask if I was all right. He only asked one question. To anyone who is listening to this, I want to tell you this. If you are suffering in a marriage, if you are trapped by cultural or religious expectations, if you feel like you have no way out, there is a way. Jesus is the way. Jesus offers freedom. Jesus offers dignity. Jesus offers love. The cost of following Jesus may be high. You may lose your family. You may lose your home. You may face persecution and imprisonment and torture. But Jesus will be with you. Jesus will not abandon you. Jesus will give you strength to survive. Jesus will give you purpose beyond your suffering. I am living proof of that truth. Thank you for listening to my testimony. Please pray for me. Please pray for my mother. Please pray for my father. Please pray for the Christians in Iraq and throughout the Middle East who are facing persecution every single day. Please pray for those who have been imprisoned, tortured, and killed for their faith. And if you have the freedom to worship Jesus openly, Please thank God for that freedom. Please use that freedom to stand with those who do not have it. Please share my story. Please let the world know that Jesus is real, that he is alive, and that he saves those who believe in him. Because faith that costs everything is faith that is real. And that faith is worth any price.